So the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. USC wide receiver Bryant Jr., he made it official. He's in the portal, but there's more potential movement being talked about, and I'll tell you who on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching it on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, as a reminder, we are free. And I want to thank all of you for coming along for the ride. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't done it yet, do me a favor. There's a red subscribe button. Hit it, click it. It means a whole heck of a lot. And I always want to say thank you and show my appreciation to those of you who already have. Okay, so while it's not unexpected to see Gary leave, we've been talking about it over the last few weeks, couple months, ever since he decided to redshirt. WRSC's Scott Schrader has put in a prediction for a couple of priority needs. And so, like I mentioned, we know that Gary Bryant is now into the portal, but USC is always getting players through the portal. It seems like they're getting more than leaving, and it's at positions of need. So I told you yesterday about the defensive lineman Jack Sullivan becoming a Trojan, the senior who developed in the Big Ten at Purdue. Well, he's going to be able to shed some of that knowledge and what to expect to the USC players, especially the younger ones who will be around in 2024 when USC heads over to the Big Ten. But the more important role he'll be filling is in 2023 because he's filling a need with Tuli Tuiapelotu moving on to the NFL. And then so the question is he a better player than Nick Figueroa, who's also, used up his eligibility? And if he is, that's a positive addition. And we also know that Jack isn't going to, he's probably not a dummy. Since he started his college career at Purdue, strong engineering school. Oh, and they also have the biggest bass drum in the world. Yeah, if you're into bands and watching halftime shows, you'll enjoy their big bass drum. It's, by the way, real quickly, I think that thing stands at over 10 feet tall when it's on its carriage that they pull across the field. So, while everyone wants to, kind of ride Alex Grinch out of town on a rail, if Scott Schrader's new prediction is accurate, and it's usually pretty on point, that means Anthony Lucas, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M, who's currently in the transfer portal, is going to also be joining USC in time for spring camp. Now, again, this is a prediction, but this is coming on the heels of the official visit that Lucas took to USC. This would be significant for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Lucas fills a huge hole in the middle of the defensive line. Both he and Kyron Barrs, the transfer from Arizona, that's a solid combination. But it also gives Lincoln Riley, from Alex Grinch's point of view and from the coaching staff's point of view, this gives Lincoln Riley something to kind of lean on when the question comes up regarding impact players who want to play defense at USC with Alex Grinch's system. So, assuming this comes to fruition, that's another feather in both of their caps. Lincoln can also point to this being 2 years in a row that the roster is being upgraded through the transfer portal on the defensive side of the ball. Brandon Peely, he's graduated, and God bless Stanley Taufo, but Stanley's not the answer in the middle, and it's not for a lack of effort on his part. Remember, he wasn't recruited to come to USC to play over the ball at nose tackle, defensive tackle. Kyron Bars, Anthony Lucas, these guys are made to play this role. Also, keep in mind, last year, USC, through the transfer portal, brought in Eric Gentry and Shane Lee at linebacker. This year, so far, through the portal, they have Mason Cobb, the linebacker from Oklahoma State, and Jamil Muhammad, the linebacker from Georgia State. Both of these guys, when you look at their numbers, they're tackling machines. If you watched USC play defense in 2022, they weren't a tackling machine. They were the antithesis of a tackling machine. It looks like they needed to work with a tackling machine. But I digress. Lincoln Riley said on early signing day that the front seven was going to be a point of emphasis. So if they continue to work the portal like they have been, it's a positive, and hopefully these guys are an improvement over what USC had available to them in 2022. Again, not to disrespect the old roster, but USC and that roster they need bigger, stronger, faster players to compete for championships. You don't believe me? If you were watching the college football national championship game this evening on Monday as I'm recording the show, you know exactly what I'm referring to. So getting Anthony Lucas on the roster, it gets Lincoln Riley, it gets Alex Grinch, it gets the team closer. And the portal will be open again after spring camps are over in May. So let's see what lands. Let's see in the end what lands on the defensive side of the ball. I know, again, everybody wants to see the defense get better, and they're not sure if Alex Grinch is the answer. We're going to find out soon. But that's not all. The offensive line. So it wasn't just Scott Schrader making a prediction that USC is going to land Anthony Lucas. Others in the industry as well started to jump on board with that feeling. So, like I said, sooner rather than later, because classes started on Monday at USC, and you've got to be enrolled by a certain date, especially if you want to be able to partake in spring camp and workouts. But that wasn't all. He also predicted that the offensive line is about to get a boost. Jarrett Kingston, the offensive tackle from Washington State, is now trending big to USC. 6'5", 302 pounds. He started the first 9 games for the Cougs in 2022, and then he suffered a leg injury, and it forced him to miss the rest of the season. But he can also play guard because he played that position in 2020 and 2021. So I guess if you were to say, what is his strong suit, he's a better run blocker than maybe pass protector. That's a positive. And then earlier in the week, Kingston, he visited Ohio State. And at that time, Ohio State felt really good about the visit. But, again, USC's in the Pac-12. Kingston's from Northern California. He's more familiar with the conference, playing at Washington State. If the feeling is accurate, and if the trend is feeling that it's USC, Kingston immediately adds depth to the offensive line, and he joins Michael Tarquin, the offensive tackle who committed from Florida, who's already in the fold. Just a reminder, Tarquin, he probably got a really good letter of approval or letter of recommendation from Tony Baselli, former Trojan Hall of Famer. Tarquin is dating Baselli's daughter. So As I mentioned, classes will start on Monday, depending on when you're watching this episode of Locked On USC. So we're going to know soon whether these predictions are on point and accurate. Looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to get a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. Not a lot, just a little. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier, you don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got a thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't even think they're good for you. They're the perfect New Year's resolution. And what makes Built bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. Yep, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievably, really tasty flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. And I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. They're only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and they come with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't even need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab your box of Built bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate or coconut puffs. Or if you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box of their hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. Okay, thanks once again for making a Locked On USC your first listen every day. Hey, make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, you get to hear it from the big name experts, the insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Real quick reminder since we just mentioned basketball, USC hosts Colorado Thursday night at Galen, and then again, they host Utah on Saturday at Galen Center. Get your butts in the seats. Football season's over. Classes just started. There's not a lot going on. Support the team. All right. By the time most of you are seeing this episode, I will have attended Lincoln Riley's State of the Union roundtable discussion that is happening on Tuesday morning. He's anticipated to provide a review of 2022, his first year at USC. And then he's going to give a perspective on what to look forward to in 2023. Now, there won't be any video or audio recordings available, or there won't be any live tweeting from this event. However, we will be able to provide some quotes from Lincoln Riley on the record after we sit with the roundtable and have the discussion. So with that, I'm going to have to work on my shorthand, make sure I get some good notes. Someone asked me on WeAreSC.com if Riley should replace Alex Grinch. I said I would answer that question tomorrow, Tuesday. Why? Because I wanted to hear Riley's 2022 year in review, and I wanted to hear his perspective on 2023 before I made a firm decision one way or the other. I felt that would be fair. I've offered some very strong opinion on whether I feel Lincoln Riley is up to the task. And I'm not talking about leading USC. I'm talking about making some really difficult decisions with his staff. Some people thought it was stupid. I thought it was insightful and asking the hard question. But again, I want to hear how Lincoln answers these questions after a couple of weeks of self-reflection. 2 weeks or roughly 2 weeks after, I want to see if he feels differently than he did during the heat of the moment right after that epic meltdown in the Cotton Bowl. That Yeah, that was really rough, really hard to watch, but we're all over it. It's time to move forward. Positive. And look, I'm sure he's going to go into depth about the defense and everything that's associated. And I'm sure he's going to, he'll share, equal blame for the way the team was prepared. But at the same time, bring up the fact about how the team is accountable for their actions and their execution. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm interested to see how that conversation goes. For me, it's how he answers, the questions and his opening, his statement, how he sees things. Is he willing to, make any fundamental changes if he plans on retaining Grinch? Is this where we find out he's getting the vote of confidence speech? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Does Lincoln lean on his and Grinch's ability to bring players in through the portal? Because he's saying we're trying to upgrade the roster. He's got. I mentioned in the first segment. He's got that ammunition to kind of lean back on, to lean against. Say, hey, we brought in Eric Gentry, we brought in Shane Lee last year. This year we're bringing in so and so, and look who we've recruited so far. It'll be, like I said, the narrative that Lincoln uses will tell me how I should answer that question. On yesterday's show, I asked if Lincoln was ready to change the country's narrative regarding the way people perceive Lincoln and having the need for a championship defense. Georgia looks pretty damn good on offense in the conference in the national title game against TCU. They throttled, and when I say throttled TCU, remember the Horned Frogs offensive coordinator under Sonny Dykes is Lincoln's younger brother. The last time I looked at the scoreboard, because I turned that game off at halftime. It was over. The last time I checked the score, there was about 3.5 minutes left to play in the game, and Georgia was leading 65-7. I think it was 38-7 at halftime. That 65-7 score makes 55-19 look like a competitive game. The Georgia defense looked like it was on a different level than TCU. And USC doesn't need to get to that level. They have an offense that can produce and look like what Georgia's offense looked like. They just need to be close to that level. Let me put it to you this way. I was on the Inside the Trojan Huddle, WRC.com's Inside the Trojan Huddle weekly podcast. And Bruce Bagney raised the point about, what if the USC defense is just 50% better? Well, if the USC defense was 50% better in 2022, we're not having this discussion because USC is probably in the playoffs. And 50% better just means executing better, tackling, not giving up big plays in the secondary. Because remember, USC led the nation in plus minus. The takeaways, they were off the charts. No one was close. And USC's not going to achieve those same types of takeaway numbers in 2023. It would be great if they did. It would be great if they had 50, 60, 75% of those numbers. That's how far USC set the bar with all those takeaways. It was just an incredible number. So, Alex Grinch was on the airplane with Lincoln Riley when they arrived in LA back in 2021. maybe Riley now feels more comfortable. And if he's, again, if he decide whatever he's deciding to do, maybe he now feels more comfortable after being in LA for a couple of years. That he can he'll feel more secure or confident to I don't know, cut that safety cord, while at the same time making sure that his friend doesn't end up taking the fall for what happened in 2022. That wouldn't be fair. I think the calculus and everyone's expectations got reset when USC got that 11th win and they were playing in the conference championship game. So again, I'll just close this out with Lincoln's answers on Tuesday in the roundtable, his reviewing of 2022 and looking forward to 2023. I think that's going to shed some light, and I'm going to have some updates over here on Locked On USC for y'all on Wednesday's episode. But in the meantime, I think this, I guess we'll call it a press conference, is going to at least give me some insight to where Lincoln is, or at least I hope to I hope to get some insight out of this. All right, so if you hadn't heard, I'm about to tell you. Reggie Bush was selected to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame class of 2023. It's about time, and that's a heck of an honor. Just to show you who he's being inducted with, the 2023 class includes Eric Berry, defensive back from Tennessee from 2007 through 2009. I'm not going to go through all the dates. I'll just finish with the names. Quarterback Michael Bishop, Kansas State. I mentioned Reggie Bush. Dwight Freeney, defensive end, Syracuse. Robert Gallery, offensive tackle from Iowa. LaMichael James, running back, Oregon. Derek Johnson, the linebacker from Texas. Bill Collar, defensive tackle from Montana State. Luke Keishley, the linebacker from Boston College. Jeremy Macklin, wide receiver, Missouri. Terrence Mathis, wide receiver, New Mexico. Bryant McKinney, offensive tackle, Miami, Florida. Corey Moore, defensive line, Virginia Tech. Michael Stonebreaker, linebacker, Notre Dame. Tim Tebow, quarterback, Florida. Troy Vincent, DB, Wisconsin. Brian Westbrook, the running back from Villanova. And D'Angelo Williams, another running back from Memphis. It's a pretty nice list of names there. I'm sure most of you recognize pretty much, I would say 90% of them. There's just a couple on there that I had to kind of remind myself on. Obviously, Bill Collar, from the defensive tackle from Montana State, being one of them. But again, that's a really nice class that Reggie Bush is going to be a part of. So, is this an indication of where things are heading with the return of his Heisman Trophy? It better be, because this whole freaking hypocrisy has got to come to an end. I'm tired of it. It's interesting. In the resume of Reggie Bush and why he's being chosen for the College Football Hall of Fame, they actually mention how he came in 5th place in the Heisman voting the year Matt won the award, Matt Leinart, but they don't mention the year he actually won the piece of bronze. Give him his frickin' trophy back. Put that sucker back up inside Heritage Hall where it belongs. Put his jersey back up in the peristyle end of the Coliseum where it belongs. And let's end this charade. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. It's funny. In the days where everyone wants to rewrite history and erase what happened and right the wrongs that have happened, I don't know. It just seems like there would be a bigger public outcry for this wrong to be righted. And this is something that certain entities want to use I don't know if this is something that if you're against Reggie Bush getting that Heisman back, I don't know if this is really a hill you want to plant your battle flag on. Considering what's going on in the NIL world of today, because the NCAA has literally, they haven't really given their blessing or carte blanche to high schoolers becoming millionaires, because all they're doing now is looking the other way. When they looked the other way, the entire time the SEC were paying players illegally. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think it would be great. This is a perfect opening for USC to maybe say something. For others in the media who carry more weight and cachet than I do, because there's a lot of people out there, to maybe, hey, let's talk about this. Let's make this a discussion point. Because when Reggie Bush is introduced at the Hall of Fame inductions, it should be Reggie Bush, Heisman Trophy winner, 2005. That needs to be part of his introduction. One last thing before we get out of here. It looks like AT&T has found their replacement for LeBron James. I'm happy about that. If you don't know by now, I'm not a LeBron James fan. He's killed my love for the Lakers. Anyways, Caleb Williams has signed a deal with the cellular company. I'm not sure what the terms of his deal are, although I'm sure they're pretty lucrative. But he has a new haircut, and he's starting to get that corporate look. So I guess we all know that Caleb Williams is going to be around for one more year. We know he's got the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be really difficult to repeat, but I cannot wait to see his first Heisman House commercial with Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, and if everyone else in the world who is holding Reggie Bush's Heisman hostage can pull their heads out of their, you know what, maybe Reggie can even make a cameo in that Heisman House commercial. Imagine all the Trojans who are still available, who have won the Heisman. Make a whole commercial just with USC. Somehow or another, I don't think O.J. Simpson's going to be getting an invitation, but who knows? In today's world, I should not be surprised by anything. That one would surprise me. I just don't see it happening. All right, so that's it for this episode of Locked On USC. Make sure you go check out the stuff. We've got a bunch of written content over there on wearesc.com. There's a grip of stuff with regards to recruiting, portal movement, some great opinion pieces. But as always, I need to remind everybody, over there you get some really great VIP content, but everything you get over here at Locked On USC is free, and we're your first listen every single day because we come at you 5 days a week. So until the next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.